Hey there, bird hunters. Travis Frank here. I have some exciting news. A new season of The Flush is finally here. From now through the end of December, brand new episodes will be airing each week on the Outdoor Channel. Once again, this season, we toured North America in search of some of the best upland bird hunting destinations. We met characters along the way, characters just like you with inspiring stories to tell. First-time hunters, long-time hunters, and hunters everywhere in between, all with a love for bird dogs, wild birds, and wild places. Speaking of wild places, we hunted plenty, and plenty of them are open to the public. We hunted mountaintops, prairies, valleys, and even islands in the middle of reservoirs and our Great Lakes. We hope you'll join us this season as we journey across America's uplands, sharing stories from the field.
Wow. Very nice, man.
Wow. The only thing that needed was me and Bravo in that trailer. That's all it needed.
I'm still trying to figure out what cinematic trickery allowed Tyler to knock a bird down.
Yeah, right. I think it actually hit a highline wire. I didn't hit that bird.
Well, there were like 8 other guys shooting, so I mean, we thought let's be nice and make it look like Tyler hit that one, but we all know that probably didn't happen.
No, couldn't tell.
Flying squirrels.
I can't wait until that episode comes out because that was one of the most wild, like 5 minutes worth of stuff. Like that exact clip that you were just showing was like one of the wildest 5 minutes of any hunt I've ever been on.
Totally. Do you remember? So we got to the end of this big section that you. We started and we're like working this creek bottom, and then we got to the end of this section. And it was small, and there was 4 of us, right?
Yeah, 4 of us. The camera guy,
Yep. And so we're walking, and we get to the end. You're like, okay, get ready. And we had been flushing pheasants like crazy everywhere. And all of a sudden, the big explosion happened right as a whole, I don't know how many like 20 sharp-tailed grouse flew in
right over top of us.
They came flying into it while the pheasants were going that way. The Sharpies were coming this way. It's pretty dang good.
There was a lot of sharp-tails that didn't make it out of there. That was a very, very poorly timed flight from wherever they were coming from. That was not – they chose a really bad path. I think there were 4 or 5 of them that did not make it out of there.
I remember when the editor was working on it, I specifically said, this section, you can't cut it because people don't believe it if there's a cut. If you don't cut it, then it is what it is. It's like, oh, my gosh, they're – okay. There's Sharpies, roosters. And so it all happened. It's like a 40-second clip, but you have to play it the way it happened, right?
Yeah, I remember we were walking, and Ron's been to that spot before. It's down by Hazen. There's a lot of birds down there. And when we were walking, right before that happened, Bo's beeper's going off, my short hair. And he's actually standing on point on a rooster. Sharp tails fly over. We shoot sharp tails. He's still standing on point on a rooster. Rooster flushes. We knock down the rooster, and then he has to go and find a wounded rooster in the cattails while we're collecting. It was nuts. It was completely crazy. So,
Tyler, you're the most spoiled hunter I've ever met.
I know. That's why all these guys are friends with me, including you. If I lived in like Missouri or something like that, nobody would ever talk to me.
Not at all. No. You're right.
High probability that you're 100% right.
And I'm going to need the handicap of the sharp tail flying into me, so it'll take me to that spot this year.
Yep.
They're harder to hit than the ones flying away, I promise.
Doug, practice the high house coming in at you. Go to the ski field. Practice high house.
I think they had a headwind, too, because they were flying real slow. Like, they were just kind of hovering there like balloons. Oh, man. You could have hit them with a tennis racket.
They were sailing in, and then a few of them landed on top of the ridge. I remember I had the cameraman zoom in on it, and I was like, see those sharp tails? What? Should we go flush them, or what are we going to do here, guys? I don't know. The dog just kept bringing them back. They were just collecting. You and Jason, and I think you had like 7 birds in your hand or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we killed. I think it was 5 was either 5 or 7 sharp tails between me, Jason, and Brian. I don't even think you shot at him.
I never fired my gun.
That's why we got some. That's why we got some.
Right. Right. Yep. Typical.
So I mean, I suppose that we don't really need to introduce you, but we probably should since we're 7 minutes into this. You know, we've been talking about, we've been excited for this for a couple of weeks now, ever since you said you'd come on. And you had Ron on your podcast last week, which was awesome. I've been hearing tales of the technical challenges that happens when it comes to him, but I haven't got to see that Beaver Island hunt yet, but from everything that I've heard, it was epic. But Travis, Frank from the Flush, thank you very much for joining us. And we took last week off, so cheers, all you people out there watching.
Salud.
Cheers. See what I got in my hand? Look at this.
What is that, Ron?
Caffeine-free Diet Coke.
No, it's just a regular Diet Coke. At least there's caffeine in it. No,
okay.
I'll have a beer in a second. I had a little nappy spell before this, and I fell asleep hard on the pool deck in a lounge chair with my arms behind my head, and I walked into the house like this. Honey, help me get my arms down.
Is it still called a nap if you're intoxicated?
It's called passing out, actually.
Honestly, it was a nap, and I have never fallen asleep like this, like an hour and a half. Your arms don't go back down. I was like, shit, this is going to be hard to get to the mouse and start the damn computer tonight. About 20 minutes ago, it finally started like feeling better. So I'll get into it here in a minute.
I like it. Just out of curiosity, Travis, that preview that we watched here a few minutes ago, when do you guys start putting all that together? Like when you guys have all the episodes done, I mean, all the filming, I'm guessing, got done in January, right? I mean, when do you guys start working on all that just to get that teaser put out?
Well, that teaser we did the week before it aired, but we usually just wait to do that. We're busy working on all of the episodes, and I see Brock. I said I'm sitting out on the deck. Yes, I convinced the guys to let me do that tonight because we have been extremely hot here in Minnesota as well, and there's no humidity right now. There's just like a soft north wind, and it feels fantastic. So, yes, I feel really good being out here on the deck tonight. But anyway, so we start. So our production company, we're a pretty small production company, really. I mean, there's 18 employees, and we have 7 different TV shows that we produce. So the Flush is just one of the 7. And so we're in production year round. But this year with COVID, obviously, we had just a huge window of time, and we basically moved all of our editors to their home offices, and we were able to, we have like a master control system that everybody that brings in all of their video, we put it into the master control, and it gets backed up right away, and then people can access it from, we've got 8 edit bays in our studio. Ron and Tyler, you guys have been there before, so you've seen how that works, but we basically created that so people can edit remotely. And then from January, we already had 1 or 2 episodes edited in January, and then from like January, and then basically when quarantine hit, we never skipped a beat. We just kept on editing at home. It hurt some of our other shows because we weren't able to be out there in the field. So we're going to see the results of that. But the bird hunting, it timed out absolutely perfect as far as the edit schedule on that. So we have all the shows done. Most of them are already at the Outdoor Channel headquarters and ready to rock and roll.
What's the amount of time that it takes from you taking all of the raw footage and trying to compress it into a 20-minute, 30-minute show? I mean, what's the amount of time it takes to edit something like that down? And how many hours of video are you kind of sorting through?
Yeah, it depends on which hunt we go on. But a typical hunt, we're out there in the field for like 3 days, depending on, because it's wild birds and weather. Those are 2 things that nobody can really bank on. So Typically, it's like 3 days in the field. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 2, depending on how things go. But then once we get back, yeah, we could have anywhere from like 4 to 6, 7 hours worth of footage. And we have a system, and basically I go through and I watch all of the video again, and then I'm editing or I'm writing notes to myself, and then I'm putting timestamps on the video. So then I go ahead and I put a script together and I give it to the editor, and he has all the time codes, so he doesn't have to search through 6 hours of footage to try to find the dog on point and the bird going up. I give him all of those. Ooh, that looks good, Ron. I give him all of those spots to find it, and then they take typically 2 full weeks of editing.
Wow.
They put the show together. I watch it again. We watch through it. We make mistakes along the way, but we try our best. I know when Ronnie watched it, I mentioned my voiceover was for a certain dog, and I forget which one it was at this time, but the editor chose a shot of a different dog, and that happens.
Hey, when you said you watch all the footage so then you can give him timestamps, otherwise he's not going to understand what you want to link together. Did you learn any new swear words from Brent Pike when his dog was gone for 30 minutes?
You have no idea how hard it was to make a PG television show out of that.
Please tell me that they were saying Bravo's name and then just panning on like a French Brittany or something.
No, they didn't do that. But Travis at one point said, Brent, you really got to try to watch your language. We can't use anything in the last day.
Right.
It's like, just as she said, it was hysterical.
It happens pretty regularly when we're on the hunt because Tyler and Ron, you've seen it. We're out there for a long time, and it takes a long time sometimes just to get where we're going, and then you finally have that opportunity, and the bird finally gets up, and you finally get in, and it gets away, and the guy's like, beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, I know the bird got away, but we're just still rolling here, so there's a lot of beeps that happen.
I'm going to tell Brett, I said, you notice how on the show they didn't really show anything except the interview part of you because they couldn't edit that many good words in between all your bad words.
That's the truth. That is the truth. There was a lot of cursing going on. A lot of, like if it would have been him talking, I would have had to cut away. And then he would have said, well, what was he trying to say there? Well, I couldn't show you that. I can't put that on the network.
At one point, Brent's dog, the island's only, well, I shouldn't say only, it's a big island, but it went into the mile marker on his Garmin. And the entire time, he is yelling for his dog, which you darn right well know the dog left him anyway, right? Hey, who yelled at Taffy for 50 minutes in a cornfield last year? I did.
That guy.
You could have recorded it for a comedy reel, but
Right.
Brent has got his controller. Just hitting the, I don't even think that he was trying to shock her into coming her out. She was too far away to be electrocuted.
Well, and the thing for the cameraman, I always feel bad because he's got the earbuds in because everyone's mic'd up and here's just screaming. He's like, oh, ah. But I will say, Ron, you didn't exactly have the cleanest mouth on that trip either.
Uh-oh.
I may have made a faux pas or two.
That's not the F word you used, I'm sure. It was not faux pas.
Did you have to silence any of Ron's farts is the real question.
That's the real question.
Oh, well, and I do remember, too. Remember when you and I, Ron, were like, let's get off of this bleeping island? And then Brent's like, we got to go that way. And you and I were like, no. It's that way. It is that way for sure. And he takes us. He's like, no, trust me, guys. We got to go to this opening. And we're like,
we're going to the big lake they call Gitchigumi, and we're going to beachcomb our way back to the camp.
Yep.
We're looking for shells for an hour.
That was not a happy Ron. That was not a happy Ron.
Asking all you rough grouse guys, How often does that happen where you guys get turned around in the woods? Because it happens to me every time I go rough grouse hunting.
Unless you hunt covers that you hunt a lot.
On that island, I'm sure that it probably it could happen easily because nobody's ever been there, and you guys said it was so thick, right?
Yeah. It wasn't. I don't think we really got lost on an island, but
The camera guy got lost, didn't he?
Well,
He did.
camera guy.
Yes,
He
that
took a
happened too.
He took a left turn because he happened to see a dog that took a left turn. Well, dogs take left turns and right turns all day long. So when he broke over the sand dune to the beach to the west side of the island, he didn't see Travis or Brent, and I was already ahead of him. I told him because I said, look, I got a bad knee. You're going to have to wait for your cameraman or call the Coast Guard. I'm out of here. And then I thought, man, I think they're mad at me because I'm sitting up on a hill and I don't see these guys. Well, they had to go find their cameraman. So, yeah, we did. But typical grouse hunting, I don't go that deep or that far. I mean, I might hear like,
I think Ron's a road hunter.
No, well, I
He
know.
spots them off the
It's really
road.
hard to get lost on the road unless you come to a T and then you don't know which way you gotta.
At a cloudy day, and if you don't have a good satellite signal, you could get lost.
I'm astonished at the amount of people that don't carry a compass anymore.
Right.
See,
It is never going to fail you.
See, and that's a thing that I learned. I only hunted in the UP once. I hunted in the UP one time, and it was cloud cover for days, like literally for days. I had no idea which direction we were facing for literally 4 days. And I was up there hunting with Craig and Buck, and somehow or another the Garmin Alpha it messed up. So like when you got out of the truck, he marked where the truck was at. And we got like way back in there. We moved a couple birds. We're kind of chasing them a little bit, whatever. And he's like, okay, well, let's go back to the truck. And we get to where the truck's marked at. There is nothing there. There's no road. Like there's nothing. And I was like, well, this ain't good because now I don't even know which direction we were walking anymore because we just like went straight through a bunch of nasty shit and I couldn't see anything. And like finally we just had to shoot shots up into the air and make Buck come find us. Like, it was bad. I was like, I'm bringing a compass for sure next time.
Yeah. Compass, phone, and GPS. I usually have all three, and it hasn't failed me yet. But
yeah, you got to have the redundancies and the redundancies for the redundancies.
Yep.
I spent most of my life in the Northwoods of Minnesota hunting, and I always laughed. I'm like, how do people get lost? I just don't get it. And then one cloudy day in a forest that had been clear cut a few years earlier, and it was all just those perfect size trees. Every single one of them was the same. And all of a sudden I'm walking, and I come back to the spot, and I was like, oh, I did it. I did the loop that everybody talks about. Then I had to stop it for a second, and I started laughing. I'm like, that's how it happens. Okay, all right. And then I had to get my bearings about me again. But it can happen quick. And then I see how the panic can set in on people because they're like, which way do I got? It's a real thing.
That feeling is when you do, all of a sudden it just nails you. And then you're like, well, and then you could see how somebody would start like running or dashing through the woods, and then you really get turned around. It's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I get lost, it's typically because I'm chasing a dog.
Dogs and birds. That's what pulls you out of your
yeah.
You kind of stop paying attention. You're paying attention to the dogs moving and not where you're walking.
Yeah.
So, that actually brought up a question when you were talking about Brent yelling at his dog. Are there hunts that, would you rather be on a hunt with like two guys, or like, because you guys had quite a crew out there for those Beaver Island hunts? Does it just make it a lot easier with camera guys and then you and splitting everything up, like two guys and just you or something like that?
Yeah, I personally like just a couple people. I've been on some hunts before, and everyone's excited and a bird gets up and they want to be a hero on TV, and all of a sudden shot gets fired in a direction and you're like, whoa, time out, everybody. And so personally, when I'm hunting for my own personal pleasure, couple people. Yeah. I think most people like to go that route too. So it seems to lend to at least what I think is more enjoyable television. I don't generally like watching, the big army of people just pushing through fields. I like the more of the adventure style myself, up to like 4 guys, 5 guys. I mean, even when we hunted this past fall, there was 4 of us in the field, but buddies hunting, right? And that was just a ton of fun. So as long as it's controlled, if it was us 5, I'd be cool with that. But I've had shots go off on people walking and their gun accidentally went off. Thank God it was pointed in a direction where nobody else was. But that's the reality of it. And, you've got a cameraman standing next to me, and he's doing his job, which is, following us for 20 miles up and down rough terrain, through pricklies, you name it, into water. And he's just trying to do his job. And then when you get somebody who a gun goes off like that, you're just like,
yeah. When have you ever had to stop a hunt and be like, okay, guys, we need to take a timeout, and we need to, whatever we're doing, this is not what we're going to do anymore, because this just isn't going to work?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've done it. Yep. I've had to stop and say, if this happens one more time, we either are done, and and I don't want to go into too many more details than that. Everybody is fine now, but I've definitely had to say, because it's just the reality of, and I'll say we've got an ATV show too. And I remember one of my first ATV shoots like 10 years ago that I was on. We were in Utah on sand dunes, and everybody wanted to be a hero. They all wanted to be on TV jumping off a sand dune doing 100 miles an hour. But I'm like, holy crap, guys. First of all, there's a cameraman in there. You're not being recorded, because he can't record at 100 miles an hour with the camera. You need to stop. Like, these are, and there's something about the thrill of being on TV and that opportunity, and people wanting to be the most badass that they've ever been. It seems to come out pretty often. But for the most part, like 99% of the time when we're out bird hunting, it's very controlled and very enjoyable. And I think a lot of it too is we're really fortunate that so many of our viewers and people that are watching right now too, we always ask every year, like, hey, we're looking for our next great place to go and people to hunt with. And I have conversations just like we're doing right now with everybody, and kind of just feel out the situation. I mean, I got stuck with Ron. I didn't choose that, but
he got forced on you.
yeah, totally. So you just you can tell pretty easily. I mean, we've all been hunting so long, and what it's like to talk to somebody that might be filling you full, and you just make that decision.
As long as people are kind of asking like the what's it like making TV kind of questions, I want to see if you ever had one of these. Steve's show before he had the Meat Eater was called The Wild Within. It was 8 episodes on a travel channel, and I remember asking him, there was one he did for a moose hunt up in Canada, and when I was talking with him, I said, Steve, why did you even put the guy in the film? He stayed at the guy's house, and he took a canoe and went up a river and blah 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 and did his thing, and he said, out of everybody we've ever filmed, we tell him, don't look straight at the camera, guy. Don't make your eyes like this and talk to the camera, and try to be natural. He says, no matter what this guy did, it was like the old Jackie Gleason. Like, he would just stare at the camera, and he couldn't like Steve would say, like, how long has your family been here? 5 years. Like with a question. He says, we could not put this guy on the show. Have you ever had a person?
I've had people that when I get to the point where I say, all right, I just need to make sure that we get the proper pronunciation and spelling of your name. Can you say it and spell it for me, please? I can't do it. They just lock up, and I'm like, what are we going to do here? I don't know what we're going to do. But I have made the beauty of editing in television is, I mean, my goodness, it has to happen a lot of times. I've had a lot of people that and I'm like, don't worry about the camera. We're just you and I. I'm just having a conversation. I'm just talking to you. And usually we lighten up, but I try to. I'm always I'm partaking in the hunt, but I'm always kind of watching what's going on and kind of gauging, okay, like here might be a good time to sit down. We'll do an interview. We just had success. The mood is good. The energy's high. Other than, we wouldn't want to do an interview with Brent right after he got done screaming at his dog, so you're trying to leave with all of
your face. It doesn't make for good lighting or anything. He's like,
right. No, we give Brent a hard time, but he really went out of his way to make that a special opportunity for us, me and you, Ron, and then he had several other people.
Yeah, he brought a lot of like, I would say, like friends and family. You wouldn't see it on the show, but they were hunting on the other island or the same island, other side of the island. Yeah, Brent went to great lengths and great, not just expense, but great effort. It's not even the money. It's
right.
I mean, the plane. Luckily his family's familiar with that place, but yeah, he had his hands full. I wouldn't have done that. That's like
anytime you do that, it's stressful anyways. I mean, when
you're coming out to your place, and after the first year, you said, "I am never doing another jamboree ever again."
Oh, I needed Zoloft after the first day. I was like, "Oh my god!" I realized after the first day, I was like, "Okay, we are going to hunt with 4 people. The rest of you guys go over there." There's lots of birds all over the place, but if you have to try to have that many people and trying to coordinate everything and talking to people, just travel plans and stuff like that. I mean, that's why my hair's gray. It's not because I'm old. It's because I have to deal with all you guys.
Well, I was only 27.
Actually, I'm only 23. I just look terrible for my age.
Tyler, you got to tell the truth, though. You meet anybody and you invite them to North Dakota.
I like hunting with people. Yeah.
But
it's like,
do. I can listen to your podcast and go, like, if I'm not mistaken.
Everybody's coming. Yeah, I got 156 or 161 episodes out. I think there's 225 people coming this year. I'm pretty sure. But it's so much fun. And like,
can I be one?
Yeah, absolutely. And
like, second week of October.
It's just so much fun, and getting to see those. And there's a lot of the people that come up here that have never hunted here ever before. And to watch them look at a piece of stubble or rolling prairie or whatever and be like,
"Bravo, quit.
Where are we gonna hunt out here?" Like, it's huge. And it's like, yeah, it is, but we're gonna do this, and then we go out and find birds, and we're like, oh yeah, that's not that hard. But everything looks so intimidating because you can see forever, and you can see your dog run away for a long ways when it's chasing deer, long ways.
Oh, I've seen some dogs run so far out of sight, it's unreal.
Ron, the very first walk we ever made together in like 2016, he's looking at his GPS collar and he's like, huh, he's got to be chasing deer. Like, well, why? Well, he's 600 yards away. And then
Ron, I hope you're okay with me putting your dog encounter on our first walk into the show, because you're like, he's on point, 90 yards away or whatever, and I'm like,
that was
right.
It probably will make sure that I never get Garmin as a sponsor, but that was funny. Well, you guys didn't see it, or who saw it?
I haven't seen it yet.
I don't have cable.
At one point, I'm like, we're looking for Bravo, and I'm like, it says he's 90 yards, and Bravo comes right out of the corner of this, right up to us. I go, what the hell's with this shit? And they caught me throwing the apple into the wood.
Well, it was perfect because I was watching Bravo the whole time, and Ron's like, Bravo's on point, 96 yards this way, and I'm like, he's like 90, and then he's looking, and I'm watching Bravo run up to us. So Ron's staring. Ron's looking.
He's never been on point, and he's never been 96 yards away. So what's bad is about that thing. Like, I don't use that collar, and you're supposed to turn them on and then spin it, and then rotate it the other way.
Calibrate it. You don't have to do it all the time.
I took it out of the bag, hit the on button, put it on his neck. He's this way, the collar's that way, the birds are. It was a shit show.
It was just perfect. That's the stuff that you want to see when you've got a camera there.
Yeah.
Was it the collar or was it Ron?
It was both, but it was Ron's collar.
I remember the first time that I hunted with somebody with a GPS collar, and they're like, "Oh, my dog's on point." and I can see the dog like 50 yards this way, and it's taking a poop, and it's like there for like a long time. Like there must have been a hanger or something. He's like, that dog's right there, it's on point, and he's all excited and jacked up, and I'm just like, yeah, don't flush that bird, man.
Yeah, everybody that hunts with a GPS collar knows that you're going to get a point about 100 yards from the truck. It's probably not a bird.
Most of the time.
Purina point.
Yep. Purina point. Yep, exactly right.
That, yeah. It's funny talking about people getting locked up in front of the camera, though, because like you guys know, it's even doing podcasts, like as cool as a cucumber as somebody might be, the minute you hit record, you can get tight. I mean, it even happens to me. Like I'm not immune to it, but it's just and then when they know they're on video, I imagine it's even worse, Travis.
Little bit, yeah. How do you feel? I mean, you've been doing podcasts for a long time. Really, all of you guys. Do you ever run the longest? Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm the grandfather.
We consider him the grandfather.
He's the OG.
Yep.
OG.
That's a fair term.
I personally consider it just an honor to be able to just sit here and shoot the breeze with you guys. You guys have been doing it so long, and I've just like tried to, just kind of something that the podcast world is something that I was kind of thrown into.
My head's getting bigger.
What's that, Ron?
Every time you say something, my head gets bigger and bigger. Pretty quick, it's not going to.
I'm waiting for the humble brag to start kicking in now. Start name dropping. We're good.
Well, you guys do a great job. I enjoy it. I've been able to be on your podcast a couple times, Tyler, and it's a lot of fun. And but you still get nervous, don't you?
Occasionally.
He's got Patelis on, he does.
Well, see, the problem is that like doing this is a lot easier, or doing podcasts in person. Doing them over the phone is rough because you're not sure if somebody's done talking yet. You're not sure like if they're sitting there thinking, and like there's nothing. It can be a second and a half of dead air time, and you're like, oh my God, there's like the phone hung up or whatever. It just seems like it takes forever. I would actually, and I mean, this is just very, very little experience, but I think TV's easier because it's not live. Like, I mean, podcasts, I mean, yeah, you can stop or edit or whatever, but like it just messes with the flow of a conversation. So when you can actually look at somebody, like right now I can tell that Ron, if I was asking him a question, he's taking an inhale of a cigar, whereas if we're on the phone, you wouldn't be able to tell that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Having the face-to-face definitely makes a big difference, I think.
Much easier.
But yeah, I think it's just there's a little bit of like that almost like nervous excitement, it's like you're kind of wired up and that just happens, but it's how quickly do you get over that? I'd say it gets quicker and quicker for the most part, but then sometimes you get in a situation where your guest doesn't do they don't do podcasts every week like we do, and they're not as easy to get loosened up, and that's when it can kind of spiral.
Or the one-word answers. The one-word answers are the worst.
And you're not prepared to come right back with something else, and
you ask somebody like this really elaborate question that should take like 10 minutes to answer, and it's like 5 words, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be a long hour.
Yeah, here we go.
I don't have that many questions written down on my notepad, so this is going to be really hard.
I remember meeting my wife's family up in the UP, and they're all Finns. She's 51% Finn. I don't know how she got 51, but it came up 51 with 23andMe. So her mom, and then of course her grandma and grandpa on that side were Finnish, and Finns are known for not real talkative people anyway. They just kind of. And I pull up, and I know the one guy shot like this enormous buck. And they were younger than me, but they were close to my age. And me, I got diarrhea of the mouth, so I'm never shy. So we're sitting there, we're all kind of around the rail of the truck. I said, Jimmy, and I wanted to say Jimmer because of Escanaba, like Jimmy, I heard you shot one hell of a buck. He goes, yeah.
What of it?
Well, that's going to be. How many points was it? 12.
This is going to be a long week.
It's going to be a long week with the family up there. So, yeah.
Have you guys ever had you start a podcast and you didn't air it because it just was so bad that you couldn't get a conversation out of it?
I've had to do it 3 times.
I feel like it happened to me once, but I don't recall it. I don't think I've ever had to totally scrap.
At the 20-minute mark, I was just like, sorry guys, like, and the best part is that, and I ended up redoing all 3 of them with the people later on, and they were fine. Yeah. But it was just like you're talking about, Nick, like they just got so nervous. And it's like, okay, guys, you realize this, nobody's listening to this right now but you and me. Right. Like there's nothing going on. So like at the 20-minute mark, it's like, this just isn't going to work. So I'm going to turn this off. Let's sit here and bullshit for a little bit. I'll write down some notes, and then let's try this in a couple of days because we're not going to get enough out of this.
I think that's a good way to go about it, though. That's because then you turn it off, and I'm sure they probably loosen it right back up.
The best thing to do is call them back and say, my SD card was corrupted.
Yeah.
Did that just happen to you, Ron, like a week ago?
It did, but that was wasn't
a shoulder beer, Doug.
That was not intentional. But the first time I did it, I interviewed Lee and Tiffany Lukoski. So when you first start doing a podcast, you're like, oh, if I get someone who's really known, my numbers are going to go up. We all, I had, like him or hate him, and half the people hate him. No, I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about Ted Nugent.
I thought you were talking about Lyndon.
So when Ted Nugent calls me back after like a year of emails back and forth, and I'm using my old AOL address because he uses AOLs. That's how antique he is. He calls me up, and I'm like a schoolgirl. I'm like, I got a date to the prom. Oh, my God. Ted Nugent. I didn't get one more download because of Ted Nugent. Right. But you think you're going to get, like, oh, my God. So I think, like, out of my industry, I didn't know that Lee and Tiffany always film at least one duck hunt, and they got labs, and I think Tom Dokken works with them. And so when I heard that, I reached out to him, and I think Tiffany's mom does all their social media. Oh, yeah, they'd love to come on. She said before, I had them on, had a good conversation. I got Tiffany to say, like, would you rather go bird hunting or would you rather go duck hunting? Or, I mean, deer hunting. Yeah. And then Lee chimes in, he goes, deer hunting, absolutely. And she goes like, well, I don't know. She's the mom, the dog lover, I said, I gotcha. See, that whole thing called your show is a farce. You're not even we're laughing and everything. And I lost that episode, and I was like, oh my God. Because, in our industry, I mean, they're kind of, you'd say celebrity, right? They're some form of celebrity. I paid like $149 for a SD recovery system, and I found that damn thing on. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah, it's weird. It's SD recovery, and
so it just goes to show that you really can't delete anything.
You can't delete any of those pictures.
Yeah. You gotta smash up those hard drives with the bad stuff.
What they didn't tell him, it was just in a folder that he couldn't. They moved it out of the folder and put it in the
file. Oh,
I just didn't recognize the folder.
Bill's in the mail.
Turns out you saved it as Tiffany and Lee, not Lee and Tiffany. Here's your file.
I like it.
But reality.
Travis, is there? Well, first of all, how many years has the Flush been on again?
Bob St. Pierre at Pheasants Forever and I were just talking about this the other day. I think it's over 15 years that we've been producing this show. But when we originally started producing it, it was called Pheasants Forever Television.
Okay.
And it aired on the Versus Network, which doesn't exist anymore. That's now NBC Sports. Yep. But yeah, they did that for, I think it was like 7 or 8 years of Pheasants Forever Television. And then they wanted to go towards more of an adventure style. When we have yearly meetings with Pheasants Forever, and I love reading all this stuff on the side. It's distracting.
It is.
Oh, I know it is. I'm sorry. Keep going.
They're the live chat degenerates.
Yeah, they're pretty rowdy.
I know. There's some there's some great messages. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Anyway, sorry. Where was I? Oh,
7-8 years of Pheasants Forever television. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So they decided, I think it was like 8 years ago, to switch over to the flush format because they wanted to try to get interest from, our generation, younger generation, the next generation, because their Pheasants Forever was looking at their membership base, and the membership base was growing older and they weren't replacing it. So rather than tell stories of conservation and how somebody grew grass and did some of that kind of stuff, it was more of like, let's go on adventure hunts. Let's see what this world has to offer. Let's show some excitement. And shortly after is when I started producing the show. And so I've been doing that now for like 5 years. And so it's been going on for quite a while. I think this is just my personal opinion based on the feedback that I'm seeing, but I think we've really found kind of a good footing for the show in being able to join people like you that are super knowledgeable, but we go on pretty damn good adventures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we hunt with people that have really cool stories to tell. And I think they're cool stories, so I hope that the viewers do too. Sometimes it's about the dogs, like the show this week that is airing. Scott Franzen bid farewell to his lab, and Ron, its dog, as well. So those are the realities too. But for the most part, we went on some pretty cool adventures that everybody can go on. Mm-hmm. So it's not these super expensive lodges that basically take me out of the equation as a viewer. This is something where whether it's that when Ron and I hunted in Michigan, anybody can do that. And every other place that I hunted this year, pretty much the same thing.
As long as you don't get airsick or seasick.
Yeah, right.
Or pneumonia, Ron.
Well, yeah, that was a whole nother thing. Travis was sick as, day one you were kind of sick. Day two you kind of rallied, and then day three you were. I don't know how. I would have just like this cut. We're going back to Minnesota.
Well, we did leave a day early. If you remember, we did leave a day early, but I remember when the cameraman was lost on the island and I had to go down the shoreline to get him. Yeah. I threw up once or twice going that way, and then on the way back, I threw up again. It was brutal.
Are you the reason that are you the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak in Minnesota or in Michigan?
We got it on Beaver Island. Yeah, it came off of Beaver Island.
You guys found it in an apple orchard.
October 2019.
Yeah, Ron, did I tell you on my way home? So driving back, I had to stop, and I don't want to get into too many details, but I actually blacked out on the way home. It was the scariest thing I've never done that before, but it was bad. It was bad.
You gotta be thankful that it was diagnosed as pneumonia. At least you can not justify it, but okay, thank God. Now I know. Otherwise you wouldn't know what you had.
Yeah,
that would be like an alien disease. Yeah, you were
sucked.
You were
sucked. But we were out there. We're on an island. It's like, let's get this done. Let's get this done. And then when Brent's like, let's go 1.5 miles through the ferns that way, I'm like,
nope, we're not going to do that.
We did it. I'm still here to talk about it. It's fine. It's no big deal. I don't want to, but
let's answer this one question.
The bells.
Between dogs and bells, spook birds. It really depends on how pressured the birds are and everything, I think, pretty much.
I think that there are some birds that are going to flush no matter what, and there are some birds that are going to hold no matter what. And I don't think that bells have a whole lot to do with it. Same with beeper collars.
I lean towards that as well, Tyler. Somebody asked this in the Project Upland group on Facebook yesterday. It was the same question. And birds can hear bells.
Sure.
They can hear them. They can hear bells. They can hear beepers. How do they react to them? That's the question. I haven't hunted a lot of pheasants, but I always hear people say close the door quietly because they're going to be out of there, right? And you guys could speak to that way more than I could. But with a rough grouse, and it was Bailey Peterson was commenting on this on the discussion. They're so confident in their camouflage and their ability to sit still that they're going to hear the bell, but they don't necessarily, I don't think they're going to run out of there until they like to know where the threat is, right? So they're going to hold tight for the most part. Obviously it's a wild bird. You don't know what it's going to do, but I don't think they really spook a bird, or I should say rough grouse, because that's where my experience is at. But I run bells and beepers. I don't run the beeper on; it's just locate only. But
I run an external
beepers on
speaker. I run one of those JBL speakers on Bravo, and I got Pandora playing on it. So
just to kind of lull them to sleep.
Yeah, and them birds just are like, "What was that song? What was that song?" Bam! Right off the stump.
Is that Alice in Chain Roosters playing? Oh my God, they're coming for me.
I always think that the footsteps unsettle the grouse more than because the beeper is kind of a weird sound. The bell's kind of a constant noise, so it's like they can hear, they know where that's at, right? Like a lot of times the grouse will flush, and Brian, you know this, like when you stop. So once they can't hear you anymore and they don't know where you are, then they get unsettled, and that's when they flush. So if they can hear you, they kind of know where you are, and they know that they're still camouflaged, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would agree. You know, that you're going to find people that have killed all kinds of birds with bells on, beepers on it, and no beepers.
yeah.
But I mean, I think particular birds, it's certainly a warning to them. It probably gives them a head up whether it changes.
Can't hide it, yeah. Yep.
But it's just like a hawk scream. You remember those beepers that had the hawk scream?
Yep.
Mhm.
Boy, I thought
They don't work.
we're going to shoot more birds, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep them on the ground.
Yeah. Birds won't fly if there's a hawk scream going off because they don't want to get. No, that's not true at all. I've seen so many birds take off in front of those things. It's
Hawk
crazy.
Screen Beepers brought to you by the same people that brought you SD card recovery.
Yeah.
What would be another sound that we could put into a beeper that we could really sell?
A horn
Snake
honking.
oil.
Like a horn honking when you're going crane hunting.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. God, I've never been so mad my whole life as that day. God, I was ready to 20,000 birds rally. I was like, oh God, limited out in 12 minutes. Doesn't make a difference.
What's the limit on cranes?
3 per person per day. Yeah, we shot 12 and I think we shot 12 in 12 minutes or 18 minutes or something like that. But as we're walking down there that morning, my buddy Matt Schmidt's car alarm goes off and we're like 100 yards from the truck and his keys are in the gas tank.
Oh.
Horn honking, lights flashing, and all these birds just rally.
Why
And
did
I
this alarm go off?
I don't know. I honest to God, I have no idea. Nobody knows.
Brutal.
But I was like, we're there at 5 in the morning, and I was like, God damn it, I'm so mad at you. He's like, I don't know what to do. It just went off. Those cranes landed right away, and we were done. And yeah, it didn't make any difference. It's the same as like when people talk about slamming car doors on pheasant hunts. Yeah, they're like late season specifically on very pressured birds. Some of them are going to go. But for every one of those birds that go, there's still one sitting there. I get like I mean I would not every bird is going to take off. It just doesn't happen.
You live in a different world, Tyler. You can't speak to that. You got to go hunt pheasants
South
in
Dakota.
a 40 acre piece of CRP grass in Minnesota.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And you
I'm
slam the
talking
car door and your hunt is done.
Really? Yeah. And
I mean,
I was thinking about the beepers and the bells thing too. I mean, like here, there's not that many birds that probably hear beepers and bells.
Yeah,
I mean, because most people up here are hunting with labs and you know, like they just don't use that. That's kind of rough grouse technology. Maybe in like highly pressured rough grouse woods, maybe they do flush birds. I have no idea, but out here they don't. And on quail either. It doesn't matter.
Well, I pretty much always have the bell and the beeper on, so I don't run silent a lot. So maybe if I were to run silent, maybe I'd flush double the birds. You know, like it's hard to compare apples to apples all the time.
I think you do pretty well there.
Yeah,
Larson.
I think I do, but it's just you just never know, right? And we don't know.
Right.
It's not science, and we don't really know exactly what's going on. But I'll be honest, one of the main reasons I run my bell is because everywhere
Wolves?
I hunt is wolf country. Yeah, and until proven otherwise, I'm gonna err on the side of letting the wolves know that I'm coming. Like I'm here, the bell's ringing. Like you guys have your.
I would pretend like when I go out with your truck next year.
Yeah.
I would tie a bunch of bells to the back of your bumper like beer cans at the wedding, and as you're coming down to 2-track, just them bells just banded like sounds like the Anheuser-Busch sled team.
Well, I might take a page out of your book, get one of those JBL speakers for Hartley's Collar, and just play Metallica as I'm going through the
There you go. I won't hunt with you, but I like the idea.
Okay.
Little Bob Seger, we might, but the wolves might kill him.
I could get down with a little Main Street.
Yeah, or little night moves.
Yeah, baby.
Nick,
We're not going to.
Nick, I was talking to Jim McCann up in Alaska 2 weeks ago, and I asked him. I said, "You got to tell me, do you have any grizzly encounters, or your dog get into it with wolves or anything like that?" And he's had a couple of them. He told a couple of stories about it. But could you imagine your dog goes in there, and he said that just the reaction of the dogs, because he goes, "I knew something wasn't right. I knew there wasn't a bird there, but yet the dog, like it had to do something about it, right?" But just a big old sow grizzly. Whew.
I would hit the dirt. I mean, that's so unfamiliar to me. I would lose it. I guarantee.
I've seen black.
It's probably more familiar to you coming from black bear country than it is for me. We don't have none of that shit here.
Yeah.
Well, Nick,
horny moose.
I'm worried about them.
I do worry about moose a little bit. In September, they always say that's the month. That's just one of those things. I don't encounter a lot of them, and boy, oh boy, if you came face to face with one of those things, I wouldn't know. I mean, they say get behind a big tree. That runs through my head.
We don't have any trees here.
Yeah.
And we have lots of moose. Lots and lots of moose.
Yeah, you guys
I'm amazed at how many moose you guys have up there. It's incredible.
It's really weird, yeah.
They got mice.
We have meese. Last year when Brent Pike was up, there was a chain gang out behind my little cabin with, I think, 8 dogs on it. And there was a bunch of guys walking around kind of like it was mid-afternoon and we were kind of taking a break when it was really hot out. Little bull moose walked right through my yard, right between 10 yards away from the dogs. Walked right past my barn out the driveway and away.
Like right off your porch there?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah, I got a picture of it standing at the end of my driveway. But I've flushed them. I don't know if you flush a moose, to be real honest. I suppose it probably just gets up. It's not like I kicked him up, I walked him up, whatever. I've had him come up in front of me pheasant hunting before out of cattails. Yeah. Scary. That is a really big animal.
Tall, large animal.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 female is going to be the one that's going to be running it down.
Probably. There's 2 guys or 2 people that I want to talk to for my podcast. There's a guy from here in North Dakota that his dogs, he had 2 short hairs and they got into a kind of just like you were talking about, Travis, with Jim. He's like, the dogs were just kind of a little bit sketchy but they were kind of acting weird. And it turned out to be a mountain lion in a cattail slough just north of Minot, about a 140-pound mountain lion. The guy ended up shooting it with 4s and killed it. Apparently, it was real close. And then there was a guy from Great Falls, Montana, 2 years ago whose dog got into it with a grizzly bear in the willows, and he ended up shooting a sow grizzly. It charged him and his dog, and she had a couple cubs. And he shot the story, I think he said that he shot it at 20 yards and it veered off, and he called the Game and Fish, and the Game and Fish went and they found it and it was dead. But I
remember
that'd be
about that one.
Interesting stories to hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I gotta look more interested when someone's telling a story.
So is that why you're on the phone?
Mute, so nobody's listening to you anyways.
Yeah, that was Rusty. Says hi.
And we're gonna mute him again.
Oh my gosh.
That's a square on bingo, I think, for somebody.
I think so, yeah.
No, Travis, I was gonna ask you, is there not that bagging birds is like the measure of success or anything, but is there a hunt that stands out to you that was like the toughest? Like, did you go on a hunt, not bag a bird, or was there one that stands out as the hardest hunt from a hunting perspective?
One that's going to be airing coming up, the last episode of this season. We shot up in the mountains in Nevada.
Okay.
And it was interesting because we hunted with Matt Harding.
Okay. Yeah.
And Travis Warren out there. And those 2 are just like diehard mountain athletes. I mean, they are like goats up there in the mountains. So and by that time of the year, I'm in, I think, probably my best shape. Nice, Tyler.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I got this. There you go.
Nice.
But by his like the actual difficulty to get to the birds, specifically for the cameraman.
Yeah.
He was so caught up, and we had to wrap his feet by the third day because he was just a disaster. But we were like 20 plus miles up and down the mountains. I forget how many stories we climbed up, but it was actually it's harder to go down mountains than it is to go up. So in just the extreme. And then we had a blizzard come in, so we're filming up there in the blizzard, and it was just one of those hunts where, for whatever reason, they had, and I think it was weather dependent too, because they actually had snow, which pushed all the birds down the mountains to the point where they were getting a lot of points, and the birds were just everywhere. Well, then it warmed up a little bit for a couple days, and then it was just like a free-for-all. The birds were at every elevation. Some of them were at Ronnie's level, which is the bottom of the mountains, at the very base, and we had to find them each day. But you're a mile and a half up, and you're like, we're at the top of the mountains. Let's just stay up here, because if we go back down, we do not want to have to get back up another mile and a half. And so
Wow.
I think just the challenge there, and the guys, they kind of feel, everybody wants it to be a massive success, and I always want to show what they've worked so hard to be able to show. And for some people, it's like their one chance to maybe be on TV doing something they love. So we always want to give it the extra effort to make sure that, because I trust them, I can tell their dogs are good and the birds are here, and sometimes the weather and stuff like that. But I think physically that one was probably the toughest.
Sure.
I'm trying to think. We've had some other ones that were pretty birdless though, and then you start getting creative, and you're like, all right, I need to know more of your backstory. We need to tell some other interesting tidbits about you or this place. And
I think we need to make an English sparrow pie for that.
Yep.
Meadowlark
cooking segments. We're doing cooking segments on this half of the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Or you go fishing.
yeah.
I was pretty concerned last year when you guys when you said you wanted to come up here and film where you wanted to film. I don't know if that's a secret now or not. I mean, I know it was in the, but it was another island hunt, another public land island hunt, and I've done that before, and it sucks. And I mean, and you guys said there was a lot of birds out there, and a lot. I know that you guys got some decent footage, but man, I've been out there before, and it is rough, and that lake is tough, and it's cold and it's miserable, and it's just not fun. I was like, well, I mean, you're going to get a lot of really nice scenery. I don't know if you're going to get any birds out there at all, but you're pretty good on it.
Yeah, so I mean, we can talk about that if you want. It's coming up here in a couple weeks, but we hunted Mallard Island in the middle of Lake Sakakawea, another public place, along with the Army Corps of Engineer land that runs along the big lake there. You talk about it all the time, Tyler. But yeah, it was. I don't know if it was below zero. I think it might have been. I forget right now, but temperature-wise, it was brutal. And then we had a pretty stiff wind, and we had to drive. I brought my boat up. We drove out to the island, but I had just heard about it for so long. I was so damn determined to make it happen, and so we did it. And
it's a cool place.
It's cool. Yeah, totally. I mean, put it out. If you go to hunt in North Dakota, bring a boat. If you have a buddy that lives there and has a boat, just do it one time, if nothing else. I can tell that it was hunted.
Yeah,
quite
go
a
in
bit.
November.
Yeah,
don't go first weekend, because I mean, there's like what is it, 7 miles long or something like that, like a mile wide or something. It's a pretty good size.
It's 5 by 2, I believe. 5 miles east to west, 2 miles north to south.
It's a pretty good sized piece of land, but there's usually 4 or 5 different groups of people out there the first couple days that are just hammering. You can just see, as the fall goes on, you'll see these big groups of people. They don't want to cross the lake in the boat anymore because the water's it's really cold and it's starting to freeze up, and it just sucks. And you'll see all these birds flying over the bay and all going back out there again. So if you go in November, it can be pretty decent. I think you were up last week of October, right? I think something
like that. But my thought on it was we flushed a couple hundred birds, I think, while we were out there in one day. And so for most hunters to flush a couple hundred birds on public land, again, Tyler, you're so spoiled. Your mentality is different. So I call that a success. But here's what I did see, that there were several roosters already shot off of that island, a lot of them. So for every rooster, we saw 40 hens, probably 30, 40 hens, maybe more. But yeah, it was still cool. We got sharp-tailed grouse out there. Yep,
Nice.
and roosters. So it was definitely a place that I would go back again and throw a bag of decoys in, because there were, I don't know, a million snows, a
It
million
was
Canadians.
unreal.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, you couldn't hear yourself think half the time. It was impressive for a lot of people. Basically, like, if you take the eastern half of the Dakotas and you go east, there's a lot of Americans that'll never see that.
Right.
And to me, that's just something that, like, if you ever have the chance, like, yeah, flushing the pheasants and all that, that's part of it. But even just to see that many birds is pretty spectacular.
Sure. Yeah, I know that when you were coming up, you were talking about trying to do a waterfowl hunt too, and I was like, man, there are so many geese around right now. I don't know if you can get on them, but the snow geese are just piled up last year
Too
at
many.
that time. And yeah, I mean, like literally thousands and thousands and thousands.
Mhm.
When we were at Nate's cabin that day, that I went hunting with you, we were kind of doing the. By the way, okay, so I wish I would have known this, but so the year before, I was kind of concerned when I did the episode with Craig that I was like, well, I wonder what, if there's a certain shirt that I need to wear or whatever. Nothing. It didn't matter. In fact, I wore a Nick shirt in the interview, up on the lead shirt. But
whoa! Back up the bus. You wore Nick's shirt.
The shirt that I sent.
I bought from Nick. Yes.
Oh,
Before I even
just trying to get clarification.
Not my actual shirt off my back.
Shirt, yeah. So I showed up that second this year, and it's cold. It's really cold, and I was wearing a Twins sweatshirt, and you're like, can't wear that on TV. I was like, it's really cold out. Yeah.
MLB.
MLB. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we've had to blur out team logos on an entire episode before, so
That's
I'm like,
pretty wild. Why? Because they can't control the message. Like, I mean, you think they would want free advertising, right?
that's what you would think, right?
Yeah, you
But-
would think you bought it, you own it.
I'm
right?
sure there's a long legal document that explains why you can't do it.
It didn't matter, but I mean, it was
It was
really
in
cold.
It was in the fine print somewhere that I didn't even know, and I wasn't even on this hunt. This was the one that Bill Shirk had done, and yeah, I didn't even know that either. And then we sent it to the network, and they kicked it back and said that you can't have that logo on. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
It's a Pheasants Forever hat, and it has a team logo on it. It was a Twins, the TC, and then it was one of their promotional deals. And we're, you kidding me right now? But
That's crazy.
I was standing there in just a long sleeve shirt in like 5-degree weather. It was really cold. But when we were standing there doing all those interviews and when I was pulling in, there was a never stopped string of snow geese going north into a cornfield off the lake. It was literally for an hour and a half they were going north. And I think that some of them got up there and they landed and they were coming back as more of them were going to the north. It was crazy.
it's an impressive sight. It's it's one of my favorite. Like, I've been really fortunate to hunt in a lot of places, but I just have a soft spot for North Dakota because of all of the birds, waterfowl, upland, everything. I mean, even just talking upland. I mean, between the pheasants, the sharpies, the huns, it's pretty spectacular.
Sure. I think we're going to take just like a little quick break. We're going to have one little social, and then we're going to take a little potty break. So, cheers, everybody. We're going to come back and we're going to do the actual happy hour portion of this thing.
Sounds good.
Raid my screen.
You got to quit making this so easy, Ron.
I had 2 Broncos come in while you were talking, and I'm sitting here in a pair of shorts. Both of my thighs have a mixture of saliva and sand. And it is just so gross. What a stupid breed of dogs to own.
Doug, how are you?
I am living the dream.
Nice. I'm looking through some of these comments right now. I don't know who's all still on. Is there a way to see who's on right now?
Yeah, they're still watching us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know. Yeah, you can tell by the timestamp. They're watching right now.
Okay.
What they've done,
Wind shirt was so big it said triplets.
Right.
probably not anymore. He's hitting the gym hard these days. Yeah. So Brock guy, you've seen him comment quite a bit. He's put together a H3 game. So he built a game board, a bingo game board, and he's taken little idiosyms that we all have and then thrown them onto bingo boards. And then these guys over in the live comments, they sit and they play bingo based off of Tyler's humble brags, me muting people.
That's awesome.
Actually talk or not?
I got a poster back today.
Look at you.
Look at Bo.
That's a game preserve, right?
Short hair right there.
You shot that on a game preserve?
No, I shot it right out, like we're pretty close to here. Yeah, it is a chucker. Yes. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Look, I think taking that week off made you sassier than normal.
You know, it's funny when we started, you guys started a week before I jumped in, and I kept saying, I said, when Fridays come around and COVID lightens up a little bit, Doug's got 2 kids and Nick's got a kid. Of course, nobody ever allowed Tyler to reproduce. My kids are grown. Travis got little ones. But I said, this is, everyone's going to have responsibilities to do. So we ended up moving it to Tuesday. And I'm not trying to be, Peter pessimistic, but I'm like going, everyone's going to get. I look so forward to sitting here seeing the same people and then our guests.
Yeah,
it's weird how this has become like. I don't care if 3 people are watching it.
I missed it last week. We took last week off, and I missed it. I was like,
well, you guys are buddies, and it's fun too. Like Ron, when you and I talk, just not being recorded or whatever, it's enjoyable. Like I thoroughly enjoyed, being able to hunt with you and get to know you, and Tyler the same, and Doug and Nick. I hope someday we get to hunt together too. I'm sure it's going to be the same thing. But like Tyler, we talked for an hour and a half the other day about
twins. We talked about
twins and other stuff. Yes, and birds too.
Right.
Which I got to get back to you on that. The Black Hills.
Yeah. The Turtle Mountain or the Black Hills?
Both. We'll see.
Doing a sharptail rough route on the Turtle Mountains would be pretty cool.
You haven't done that yet, have you, Tyler?
I did it in December last year.
You chased the rough grouse up there?
Yep. So that was when I had that malfunction with my collar.
That's where you were?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And it was getting dark. We shot some sharptails on the way up, and literally parked the truck, and we were 200 yards away from the truck, walking up this trail, and there's a lot of like I don't even know what kind of you rough grouse hunters.
I was going to ask you what's the vegetation like.
I have no idea. But it was
First of all, Tyler was in shock because he saw trees.
It's true. And
he was like the caveman with the first fire. He's like, ooh.
Exactly. But we shot some sharptails walking up, and then when we got up, I had Bo, and I think we had 6 points. One of them was unproductive, and the rest, like, we never got a shot at any, but we definitely heard birds.
No kidding.
And saw where they were sitting.
They were there.
They were there. Yep.
That's pretty wild.
And I think, like, and it's certainly possible that at least one of them was a reflush. Sure. Like we kind of made a big loop and kind of came back, but and then losing a dog for an hour that was on point. When I found him, he was still on point, and the bird wasn't there. I was like,
no way.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to
is that a pretty expansive area? How big is it?
It's pretty good sized. Okay. Yeah, it's it's all national. I think it's all national forest. I know there's some small pieces in there that are privately owned, but I mean, I'd say it's probably, I don't know, 10 miles wide by 40 miles long. I mean, it's
not like a
big
pocket cover or something.
No. It's pretty big.
I'm looking it up now.
In fact, it's probably even longer than that, because it goes from almost straight north of Minot. Like, you can look up the town of Botno, and it runs almost all the way over north of Grand Forks.
Oh wow, that's way up there.
The Pembina Gorge and stuff. It's like the Pembina Gorge. There's elk up there. There's a huntable population of elk up there, and it has the longest unaltered stretch of river in North Dakota, the Pembina River.
It's weird when you look at it on satellite imagery. It's just this big circle of green in an otherwise just prairie, open cover. Yeah,
that's where all the moose were when I was a kid. There was no moose down in the prairie at all.
And they moved out of there.
Yeah,
wow.
I think they figured out that it's easier to live in crops. Yeah. I mean, like you don't have to deal with the flies, you don't have to deal with the ticks, and you literally just live in the middle of a freaking cornfield and lay down in a cattail slough and just stand up and eat when you're hungry.
Right.
In fact, that's one of the only portions of the state now that does not have a moose season in North Dakota is the Turtle Mountains, and that's where they historically lived. But yeah,
Kind of like Minnesota.
yeah, you guys don't really have very many moose over there anymore either, do you?
It's gone. I mean,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's
they're
gone
trying to
down
figure it
now.
out.
Yeah.
Did they move out of the forest and move out to the prairies as well? Like
I
eastern?
bet you
or
there are like northwest Minnesota maybe, but I don't
Yeah.
really know.
Yep. Northwest, I've actually hunted it up there for many, many years. That's where I do quite a bit of deer hunting. And it does have a population of moose. Very rare to see them. Every once in a while, I'll come across one when I'm hunting, either sharptail hunting or deer hunting. But it's gone way, way down over the last few years. And they canceled all the moose hunting seasons in Minnesota. They're just trying to figure out. Of course, everyone yells moose or wolf,
Right.
and that's part of it too. But
it's a lot of brainworm from what I heard, right?
yeah, and ticks and too many deer, and I mean, we could have an hour conversation just on that if you really wanted to get into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever hunted the prairie chickens up there in northwest?
That's what I was just going to ask you.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
I've flushed them, but I've not hunted them.
Okay.
Yep. The season is extremely short.
Yeah, it's like a
And
weekend or something like that, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the sage grouse out west, depending on where you're at, but it's pretty short. And the last several years, I really have to try to figure out where I'm going to be at different times of the season. So I've almost always missed that window in Minnesota.
It'd be kind of cool. Have they always had a population there, or was it a reintroduction that they're working off of now? Do you know? Nick, maybe
Well, they're native. I mean, yeah, they're native there, just like the sharp-tailed grouse too. And I mean, Nick might be able to kind of
No,
talk more.
I would have the same assumption. I would assume that they were native. They're still there. I'd never heard of a reintroduction or anything.
Well, I know that they tried a reintroduction in North Dakota, bringing birds up from, I think, Nebraska, and it never really took.
I wonder why they're not in North Dakota.
They like a different kind of prairie.
Okay.
And like when me and Ron hunted them in Kansas last year in January, that is not the kind of cover that I would find tails in.
Okay.
It's much thinner and a little bit taller.
Way more pasture-y, cattle-y.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Nick, you've hunted up where we hunt sharptails here, and like the best way that I can always describe it to people is that when you're walking through it's less than knee deep, but it's tangly, like
tugging at your shoes and
your
stuff.
feet
Yeah.
stuck in it. It's like walking in thick carpet.
Yep.
That's not what them prairie chicken were in at all. They were in like really knee deep, but it was much thinner.
I've noticed that prairie chickens are kind of like you're going to find a prairie chicken in that certain cover, and this goes from Alaska to Minnesota to Michigan. When I hunted sharptails in Canada, in Ontario, 15, 18 years ago, sharptails will kind of adapt to whatever.
They're pretty adaptable. I got them over here.
Where that prairie chicken just wants that. They're like almost like a sage grouse.
Sure.
They want that cover, that habitat, and never the twain shall meet.
A real specialist.
It actually last year when I was hunting with Justin down there in Kansas, it actually got to a point when we were out there walking that you could look and you'd see a certain color grass. It was a different color, and like, okay, I'm going to work over that way because that's what I've seen the last 20 of them come out of, and like it seemed like it wasn't even just that they were in a different. Like it was just a totally different color, different type of grass, different everything. I don't know what it was, but it was like a reddish colored grass compared to the other brown stuff that was around there is what I found most of them when we were out walking.
Yeah.
I find them in Minnesota here. If you walk that grass, you could spend a lot of hours walking that grass. But if you get into the willows,
that's a sharptail too, right?
That's the sharptails.
Like
yeah, they'll come out into the grass, into the clover and stuff, but pretty much
it's really
willows.
they're just a more adaptable bird than a prairie chicken.
I think so.
Seems like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like a prairie chicken's a true prairie bird, and that sharptail, even though it's a prairie bird, it could be an agricultural bird. It can be a woodsy bird.
Woodland bird, yeah.
We had
I've seen them piled into cut sunflower fields and cornfields and hard winters too. I mean, like they're like I've seen them on highline wires. They're just a very odd bird.
Yeah, they are.
I'm standing in the Shields parking lot in Minot a couple years ago, opening weekend of Sharptail, probably 10 years ago now, I guess, not a couple years ago. And we'd been out, we just got our asses kicked. I mean, we'd walked like 12 miles and couldn't get close to any, and the wind was whipping. And we're standing there in the Shields parking lot in Minot, and like 12 of them came flying right over top of us. And I was like, oh, they followed us.
Yeah.
So, and knowing how far they fly, it could have been some of the ones we flushed earlier in the day, and they just got caught up in the jet stream or something too.
Going.
But yeah,
I was gonna say. So the question's come up 4 or 5 times. Travis, are you a dog guy? Do you have a bird dog?
Let me answer. The one question was what Randy, my neighbor over here in Twin Lake, the one-legged wonder. I know you're watching, Randy. He says, what kind of dogs does Travis have? Well, back in the day when you borrowed a cigarette from somebody, said, what do you smoke? You said OPs. Well, what's OP? Other people's.
So, like that.
Travis' choice is OPs.
Yeah, I'm actually, we've been looking at a couple different puppies here and adding, but my dog story, and this is the most common question that I get asked, is what dogs I have, and I every time I say the same, I'm like, well, right now I say I've got 3 flushers. I got 3 little ones, and a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old, my kids. But based on family circumstances growing up, I was never able to have one. Based on life circumstances for a while here, traveling a lot, it wasn't fair for me to have one. Now I'm at a point where family circumstances are in a place where we're looking to get a puppy and a bird dog.
We want you to be as frustrated as us.
I know.
You might start doing like documentaries on shipwrecks, because once you own a dog, Travis, and you're trying to make a television show, you might sound like Brent Pike.
Oh my gosh. So, you've seen all the pressures when we go somewhere and we have to, when I leave, I have to come home with a television show every time. So there's a lot of pressure every time when we're on the road too. And like Ron, Shara, forever and ever, Raven, was the star, and Raven went everywhere. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can handle that pressure, honestly. And it's been weighing on me a little bit to bring my dog on the road with me all fall, and a lot of times people want that, don't want that, but it's something that I've wanted for most of my life, and every time I've been really close to getting a dog, there's been a reason why I haven't, and I could go into a lot of details in it, but we're really, as a family, looking at it, and we held a little puppy the other day, but I am so torn right now because I've hunted with some of the best dogs in North America. Look at that. Look at that. God. Yes. I have had people from all over the country ask if they can give me one of their puppies.
I'll bet.
And I mean, it's been very, very cool to see that. But just at those times, we weren't, like I said, for family reasons, we weren't able to do that at the time. So, but we're close. We're really close.
Gotta give you a puppy fever right there, Travis.
What kind of puppies did you go and play with the other day?
GSP. That was because that was my neighbor who was basically going to leave it on my doorstep. One of those, like back in the day where they'd leave a baby in a basket and say, "Here you go." Like he was that close to doing it. And so we went over, and I've got a 2-year-old little girl, and she's just obsessed with dogs and just holding it. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Travis, look at what am I doing?
pulling the trigger.
Pull the trigger.
I know. But there's so many. There's so many other breeds too that I.
But Ron Scherer had a show called Ron and Raven, right? Everybody, that was one of the early shows, 25 years ago.
Yeah, on ESPN, it's called Backroads. Yeah.
You could be Travis and Terrible or Travis and the Tyrannical. We can work this into it.
Right. I know.
I will give you one piece of advice, and this has only come up with me in the last few months. Get one. Don't you're in such a unique situation, kind of like I am, where I hunt a lot, but I'm always hunting with people that have dogs. I got 5 in the house right now, and that's way too many. I can't do anything. So if you get one, you can take one dog with you. Don't get more than that. I went camping last weekend.
Yeah.
It's a freaking rodeo. It's actually, it took a lot of the fun out of the whole trip. Were there times where the dogs were all out swimming in the lake and chasing bumpers? And yeah, it's awesome. But my gosh, it's a lot of work. But one dog is actually, traveling with one dog's pretty easy.
Yeah. I hear you, Joe. Thanks for that comment. I know spend a day in my house right now, and you tell me you want to add another anything to it. But it's a season, right? We're all in different seasons, and I cannot wait for the day when I'm out there in the prairie or in the woods with my dog, and I've shared that experience with hundreds of people in my life. Trust me, I get it. I want that really bad. I've wanted it my whole life, and for just like I said, just a lot of reasons growing up, I just couldn't get one. And then being away from home more than I'm at home, I felt that was not right for the dog. That was just selfish of me to want that, but then not give the dog the life it deserved. I didn't want that either. So, but anyway, so that's my current state there, and I'm torn between about 6 or 7 different breeds right now, because every time I go, I just have a love for dogs, and I meet these dogs, and we just instantly have a connection, and it's a different breed, and I watch the way they hunt, and there's certain characteristics that I really like, and I say, ooh, I think I want that dog, and I'll send a photo to my wife, and she's like, yes, let's do that. So.
I had to check my kennel when you left last year, because I thought you were taking Bo with you.
Don't be surprised if I do this year. It's probably better if you don't let me hunt with you.
I'm going to keep checking. I'll keep checking.
That dog is, oh my goodness, that dog is something else.
That was quite a walk. Yeah, I can't wait to see that on film, because, that was one of those days where there was just enough snow on the ground. And do you remember when we got out of the truck and I told you and the camera guy, I was like, when we're walking across this field, right in that bush, right there's going to be 40 to 60 birds. Mm-hmm. And everybody's just kind of looking at me like, this guy's full of shit. And we got 100 yards away from that bush, and Bo went on point, and there was that many birds in there. And I was wrong. There wasn't 40 to 60. There was 100. And they just, they were all out of range, and they all flew down to where we did go and hunt them. But, Bo went from one point to the other for an hour and a half. It was crazy.
Yeah, I had to sit down with the editor because I wanted that in, and it was a minute and 45 seconds of birds flushing before we even got in the cover.
Wow.
And we're like, well, technically that segment is roughly 4 to 5 minutes. I'm like, we didn't even get into the hunt. There's a lot of information that I had to leave out of the segment because people do want to see birds flush too. So I had the backstory on your dog and how you got it and all that, and I had to cut it because there were so damn many birds flying around that we had to show the birds.
Yeah, that's true. Jackson, that was not a purposeful breeding. So no, I do not believe I will be repeating that breeding. Yeah, Bo got CJ down in Arizona, and that's the puppy that I got, or 2 puppies I got right now, and they're gonna be firecracker little dogs, but no, that's not. I don't believe, unless I start some sort of a new designer breed that I can charge like Ron did, then maybe.
Well, mine was well established. It was a designer breed, but it was well established.
I would bet these dogs would hunt better than that designer breed.
I've seen 2 of them at the Navita grounds. They don't listen better.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
Oh my God, Gary and what's his name? They're pulling hair out with him.
Hey, Ron, I got a dumb question for you.
Mhm.
I don't know nothing about nothing, especially when it comes to dog breeding. But since I've got this little pup now, some people have asked me if I would breed her with my older dog, Hartley. And
Give it a few years.
Well, obviously, yeah, but I really don't think that I would. I mean, I don't see that in my future, but it's obviously right now it's not my future. But they're half siblings. They have the same sire. So is that like a hard stop, no go? Is that too close? I have no idea.
Now to me, that would be somebody who's been in the game for a long time would say, I'll do it.
Yeah.
For a first time breeder, no, wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because Bob Whaley made an art of doing brothers and sisters and dads and daughters and mothers and sons, but he had the ability to cull, the ability to place dogs in homes. So yeah, somebody would look at that and probably be like sticking their nose up like that. Like,
There's enough good lines out there too that you don't really need to be, unless you've got 10 years worth of generations that you've hunted over that line. I don't know that line breeding's even worth the
right.
Yeah.
If you ask me today, I don't ever want to have puppies ever again. Ever.
Well, I'll take that, Tyler, because I haven't thought about it at all. So
I thought CJ had the puppies.
She did, but did she have to take care of them? Only for like 3 weeks. So, I'm gonna have to rip carpet out of my mud room and replace it because it's just trashed. Even with the pen on the floor. But
all I know is Bruce better give you free insurance for about 2 years.
Yeah, keeping siblings also. Never doing that again either. I bought CJ specifically I got CJ specifically to breed her with Rusty. I don't even know if I want to do that anymore.
No,
it's been spoiled for you now.
There's a lot of desirable traits in both Rusty and CJ where they retrieve out of water, and nice. I like that, Brent. Thank you.
It's supposed to be scented candle poinsettia kennels.
Yeah,
poinsettia kennels.
Thank you, Nick.
What's the scent you got going right now?
Bourbon. I don't have anything going on out here right now. I took a cue from Ron. I got some of these things that are gonna end up getting
nice
done later. These ones are really good. But yeah, breeding's a pain in the ass. I don't even want to have females anymore.
This is how bad being a breeder is. I could get anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 for 2 dogs that are just normal, just dogs, right? And without my daughters living at home anymore, it doesn't even sound like a good idea.
I think the Yeti cooler can handle it.
It's a pain in the butt breeding dogs. You have to be.
Ron, isn't that what you're talking about when you see a dog that wants to pick up the biggest tree limb and carry it around? Is that kind of what you're talking about right there?
That's the natural right there.
I'm liking that dog, Nick. When I've picked 3 different puppies based on which one will pick up the biggest stick and run around with it, and I've never been wrong. You got something there.
That dog is adorable.
Yeah,
that's a good looking dog.
Sweetie.
That's a Minnesota dog too, Trav.
I know you got. Somebody said something earlier, but Nick, where are you sitting right now? I don't know where are you at?
Well, this is the new garage build. I've had a spare garage out behind my house, but it was completely unfinished. This whole quarantine period, I've been working on getting it finished out into the new dog kennel / home office. There's Hartley back there. So nice. This is the first week we've been in here. This is the first. I haven't moved my office out here yet. It's kind of bare bones, but we're moving in.
Looks good, man.
Yeah.
Looks a little bit like Ron's even. Like you guys kind of have the same kennel setup, sort of.
Well, yeah, you got the half size. Let's see if I can do this. Yep. So you got the The kennel
Who
run.
shot all those roosters? I know you didn't shoot them.
I took them out of your house a couple years ago.
Probably you stole them out. You picked them up off roadkill.
See, the kennels are low, and you have all the shelves to use for the kennels.
That's nice.
And then you have all your accoutrements that you gain over the years. And oh, look, there's a rough grouse.
Rough grouse, yep. That's my inspiration, Ronnie. I got work to do, but this is the starting point.
You'll get it. You'll get it, Nick. I got complete faith in you.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see. Are you doing kind of along the way photos as you build it, so you can see where it started and where it ended?
I have taken a bunch of pictures. Yeah, I've got when you look at the official before picture, I put these windows. I added 4 windows and put a bunch of stuff in here. Yeah, it was totally there was like nothing in here, but it was a good structure, good slab, and just a good garage building. But now we've got heat, air conditioning, and kennels, and the whole 9 yards.
So to
Nice.
I've been wondering, are you guiding fishing still? I've been seeing a ton of fishing pictures.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too, Travis. You've been fishing much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so before I started doing television, I was a fishing guide, and that was my full-time job through high school and college. And so I still do occasional where I take trips out, and I do a lot of families, a lot of kids, and pretty dang rewarding to take kids that have never caught a fish, and then their first one is like a 5-pounder, and it's just this battle so I still do a decent amount in the evenings, and this time of the year during the non-hunting season.
What was your specialty when you were guiding? Did you have a fish that you focused on?
Muskies.
Muskie.
I had a run there because in Minnesota, the muskies were a fish that were stocked in a lot of our lakes, and they were new to people. Growing up, it's not like your grandpa taught you how to muskie fish. Nobody knew what to do, but I just figured it out really early. And when I was 16 years old, I bought a boat and I started guiding because I knew how to catch muskies, and people would see all the photos and they're like, dang, I want to catch one of those. So that's kind of how it started for my actual guiding. And then to get to the point where I could quit my summer job and do that full time, I added other species too. But muskies were like hot. I mean, people came from all over the country because of our Minnesota's muskie stocking program, and so I took them out from literally all over the country and other countries too.
Ron, go ahead.
I always hear about muskies. Now, muskie, it's like a giant northern, right? I mean, they're the same kind of genus.
Similar,
right?
Yep. Esox, yep.
Yeah. So, why? I mean, I'm like, why? Why is that? See, I'm not a fisherman. I'm a fisherman. Like, if you say, Ron, come on the boat, back in a week and a half, we're going to go out on Lake Michigan. I'm going to have fun pulling in a fish and eating. I love eating fish. Why? What is it about a muskie? I know this is not bird hunting, but who cares? Why is the muskie the thing? I don't get it. Or do you know why?
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see them.
Mm-hmm. It's a hunt. It's not like you go out and you reel in muskies. It's a hunt. For some of these people, it's a fish that they've chased for 20, 30 years and never caught. So for some people, it's literally like, hey, I'm 70 years old. I want to catch one of these before I pass. It's on my list. Where's my best chance? They do some searching. They get my name, they call, they fly out here for a couple days, and we knock that off their bucket list. Wow. Some people call them, Mike Curtis said the fish at 10,000 casts. Yeah. If it took 10,000 casts, I'd find something way better to do with my time. It should not take that long. But for some people, that's the reality, and it's an adrenaline rush. It's a big fish. They grow, in Minnesota, it's common to catch a 5-pound northern. My average size muskie is 20 pounds. So it's just a bigger fish.
Again, what happens, like, when we catch pike here in Twin Lake, Middle Lake, you get what they call them, hammer handles, right? Just a little skinny pike. Do you not catch the little bitty muskies?
Not really. Every once in a while if you're fishing for other fish, but I'm using baits that are...
You mean, what are you using, kittens? Yeah. What are you using, kittens?
You could. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them. I've seen them eat muskrats. I've seen them eat full-size ducks.
You've seen it, Travis?
I've seen them. Yeah, for sure.
That's crazy.
I've spent thousands of days out in the water, and you see some stuff. Just like when you're out in the field. For me, it's like the perfect, like I'm getting to the point where like I am ready to go hunting so bad, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But like Tyler, man, you've been fishing too, and it's just like I never have an off season throughout the entire year.
Right.
And it translates for me really, really well to be able to constantly go and always have something that I'm looking forward to.
I joke with everybody that there's like basically the month of like from Valentine's Day until St. Patrick's Day. If you want to plan something and you want me to show up, that's the month. Like those 30 days, because there's really not a lot to do in there. Like, I mean, the coyote hunting at that time it's good, but the coyotes are starting to get rubbed up. Ice fishing is late ice, and it's not always great. And I don't really care for ice fishing anyways. There's no hunting. The snow geese aren't back yet. Upland's done, and there isn't any open water fishing yet. So it's like, that's it. Other than that, the other 11 months of the year, there's something to do. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Travis, was there an episode of the Flush last year that you fished muskie on?
We did a hunt a couple of years ago. You all right, Ron?
Saw the splash.
I will splash on the beer.
We did a hunt, and I've actually got some thoughts for this year on places we can do both at the same time or same place. Throw something in a boat and go. But we did a hunt up in Ontario, and we hunted on the islands up there.
Yeah.
And I did bring a couple of sticks with. And one afternoon we went out and casted for like an hour, and Lake of the Woods is just this paradise. I mean, Ron, you and I talked about it too. But just the sheer opportunity of things you can do between the grouse and in the waterfowl, and obviously there were woodcock that came through as well. But walleyes and muskies are like, that's just one of the best places in North America. Yeah. So we're trying to see, how many different things we could accomplish in the short window that we were there. And Aaron, my personal best, I've caught a couple Minnesota muskies that were in that 55-inch range. Wow. That would have been, had I kept them and taken them to a state certified scale, they may have broken the record. But if you're a muskie fisherman, it's just like, you don't do that. So those are fish.
You let them go?
Yeah. Yep, totally. The laws have changed a little bit.
I'm sorry, but you're an idiot.
Maybe.
55 inches of fish could feed you for.
It's not good fish. Well, it's like when they're that big, they're not great to eat.
Why
Ron,
not?
here's the thing. It's more of like, do you care that your name is in the record book or not? And for a while there, I hunted for it, and then I finally got it, and I was holding it in my hands, and I said, somebody else deserves to catch you too, and I let it go. And then I thought afterwards, I'm like, what did I just do? I spent years trying to break the record, and I did it, and I let it go. What the heck? So in Minnesota in November, the muskies grow very, very large on Lake Mille Lacs because they eat tulipies. It's like a bear before hibernating. Their metabolism slows way down. So every time they eat, they get bigger and bigger. So that fish right now today is going to be 10 pounds lighter, but in November, it's going to be 10 pounds heavier. So, and I've taken some of my customers, and they've caught them, and it's just like one of the most spectacular moments. It's like the pinnacle of, if you're up on a mountain and your dog goes on point. I mean, like, these are different highlights along the way, but definitely I had one that was a lot bigger. So the one that broke the record that I caught, I released, I had chased one that was 10 pounds heavier. And to me, I knew there was something even bigger. So therefore, like, that can't be my top one, because I have seen and chased for weeks on end for one that was substantially larger. I've seen the mountain. I've seen the mountain. Yep.
Haven't they been working on a catch and release like muskie record lately? I thought I heard something about that.
Yep, they've got that. So if you can accurately lay a fish down on a board that has a nose to it, and then you can get your length based on that, and then your girth, and they do a formula, which it's a catch and release record. It's not the same as somebody taking it and putting it on a scale. So, but they've been caught for sure.
I had that guy on my podcast about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, Jason Mitchell from over here in North Dakota, and he caught that just like Minnesota, the walleye record, the northern record, like those are the records that people want. And he released a 35-inch walleye that certainly broke the record. And he said he put it back in the water and watched it some way. And he's like, wouldn't that be cool if some little girl caught that or something like that? I'm like, God, I can't even imagine.
To put in perspective, something similar to that. I took somebody out fishing who's never caught one before, and his first fish was a 55-inch monster out of Lake Mille Lacs. And so, I mean, I can tell you how many. I don't know how many hundreds I've caught, and I've taken other people to catch, but they've all been released. I've never in my life kept one or killed one, and they're there for the next person to catch. And I've caught them, years different down the line, because you can see markings or like something on the tail that's deformed, and then you catch it 2 years later, and you're like, sweet, that worked. And so I guess that's kind of why I do it that way.
And I know we're going into a fishing show here, but
it's interesting though.
Travis said it's a hunt, so hunter's happy hour,
It's like a hunt, so these muskies, they don't ever like swallow the hook down to their guts. They're just such a mouth biter that you can always. Because it seems
probably more the baits you're using,
They're so big.
I mean, I guess you could fish with some people fish with big sucker minnows and bobbers and stuff.
Yeah,
kittens with the 4 treble hooks in their little paws. Yeah.
I could do surgery on you if you came into my boat, Ron. I've got that many tools. I have saved the lives of those fish with my tools. I have hook cutters, you name it, and it's like when they come in, I don't let anybody touch it. I take care of it, and I say, okay, get ready, get the camera, you're going to hold your fish. And, it's basically all done for them once I get it in the net, because I don't want the fish to be hurt. Because, in a lot of the lakes I fish, it's only like 200-300 fish total in the whole system.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's
well, and I was gonna ask you that too. Is that when you find one of those big ones like that, are they pretty territorial where you can go back there and like 3-4 weeks later come back and catch that fish again or see it again?
Sort of. We can really talk a lot of fishing here, but let's.
Hey, that's fine, man.
Sort of. They are creatures of habit. They are predators. They are ambush eaters. And so if you find where they're hanging, unless something forces them off of that, us or weather or changing in the water temps, things like that, weeds. I mean, the ecosystem is always changing, and so I'm always paying attention to that. But if you can figure it out, you can go back again and again and again, and that's why, like 10,000 casts thing, that to me is just like, that doesn't even exist in my vocabulary. If I don't get one every day, something's wrong. Otherwise, I'm doing something. I gotta adjust.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to keep on banks. Those I've casted a couple of those lures before. It's a workout, man. I mean, like if you're going to cast that all day long, those things are heavy, and those reels, those rods and reels are heavy, and you're working them really hard and stuff. Yeah. If you're fishing all day and not seeing a fish or getting a bite, that'd be boring as hell.
There's a lot of fish, and the equipment today is so good. Just like all of our hunting gear, the fishing gear has really changed with time. You could come out and spend a day with me, and you'd leave, and you're like, wow, that didn't wear on me at all. And it's all in the equipment that you're using, and it's not nearly as bad as a lot of people make it out to be.
That's cool.
Well, hunting question. Anybody?
I have a question. How come Travis isn't hosting a fishing show?
I do.
Well, sometimes he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I've got. I host 3 different shows. The Flush is one of them.
Never mind that question then.
I do. Yeah, we talked about this, Ron. We have 7 shows. I produce 4 of the 7 that we work on.
One of them was a fishing show.
Yeah. If you have Fox, if you have Fox Sports Networks in the Midwest range, I host another show called Due North Outdoors, and that's hunting and fishing. It's everything. It's a variety. And then we have one in Minnesota here called Minnesota Bound, and that's on our NBC network. And that's Ron's original show, Ron Scherer, that started it 26 years ago now, I think.
Yeah. That's on NBC network still?
Yeah, it's on Minnesota's NBC network.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of nice that there's still when I grew up, now this is back, I was born in 57, but in the 60s, we had Wide World of Sports on with Kurt Gowdy.
Mm-hmm.
That was Sunday afternoon. I think it was 3:30. And that is what literally in my head, that's what I remember watching. And it would be like Bing Crosby duck hunting and somebody else pheasant hunting. They're all like the Hollywood people. And that was on mainstream television. Like if you watch sports on Sunday afternoon, there was some hunting in it.
Yeah.
And I did not know that there was even if it's a state network or a Minnesota network, there's still some outdoors on network television. I like Minnesota just a little bit more right now.
That's
there
what
you go,
I grew up watching.
Yeah, it's
North and Minnesota Bound and all that stuff. Yeah.
Me too. Rooster Tails.
Same here. Same here. So for me to be able to, like work my way through, and after being a kid watching these shows, and now like I a lot of times still have to pinch myself and say like, this is what I'm doing, and it's pretty humbling, really. But yeah, it's still on the air. Minnesota Bound airs on the weekends, and it's comfort food for a lot of people because it's stories about all kinds of anything from hunting, fishing, camping, people that they make their own boats, to their artists, they build their own decoys. I mean, you name it, the stuff people do, we track them down and we document their stories. Like Ron's mission was always to do it like 60 minutes, where it's a different after every commercial break, you've got a new story with a new person. And so that's still is something that's on the air, and we have that on NBC in Minnesota and on Fox Sports. So it's year round too. That's why, when we talked earlier about the shutdown with COVID, like we were able to edit all of our upland bird hunting shows because of the hunting season. But the reality is, like right now, there's a couple people on assignment up in northern Minnesota gathering a story, and we've got a crew in Michigan right now documenting another story. And we're constantly on the road, and we're constantly changing with the seasons as well.
Is there?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna. I was gonna kind of change the subject. If you got something to finish there, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I'm following your lead. You guys are dancing.
So is there an upland bird? Because obviously you've been cruising around with the flush and getting to do different adventure hunts and stuff. Is there not necessarily something obscure, but is there something that you haven't checked off yet? I mean, you've hunted quail, you've hunted pheasant, you've hunted the various grouse species. Is there something you haven't got yet?
Himalayan snowcock.
Okay, yeah, that's like the real adventure hunt.
I'll do that.
You talked to Travis and Matt. They put that bug in your head, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they have.
That is not an upland hunt. That is a stalk.
That's a different kind of hunt.
You should be able to shoot them. You should be able to shoot them with 22s. It should be a spot and stock hunt. Is what it should be.
I'm sorry, it's a stupid bird, stupid hunt, stupid height.
Let's not take it out on the birds, Ron.
Let's take it out on the.
Right, jeez.
Who in the hell let them things go, knowing where they would live? Like, I know. They knocked it out of the park with the Hungarian partridge. They knocked it out of the park with the pheasant. And then some ding dong put I know, we're gonna get Himalayan snowcock.
Where are they bothering?
I don't know, 17,000, 18,000 feet. I mean, you might see one when you're going from Denver to Utah out of the plane window. That is not an upland bird.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Well,
if you do snowcock, we are through. We are not.
Wait, okay, so do I get you back if I say ptarmigan? Because I remember just last week you said don't go to Alaska without me.
Look at that.
Ptarmigan is also up. Yes.
I like
No. Ptarmigan is not an introduced species. It's introduced to the lower 48. It's
the biggest problem.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with snowcock for me is that you can't really hunt them with dogs.
Right.
Like at all. And that's why I think that you should be able to spot and stalk them with 22s. It'd probably be like the most ethical and safest way to do it. Like shoot one at 100 yards with a 22, knock it off a rock over and pick it up.
How about just not? How about just not?
But I think
Ron, you and I can always be friends because I'm never climbing my fat ass up to 16,000 feet to go shoot a Himalayan snowcock.
All of a sudden,
hey, whoa, you've been working out.
Yeah.
Flex those guns. Show us the guns, Tyler.
If Ron does it first. Ron, no,
Tyler, show us the guns.
I can't do it. Look at that, Ron.
Jeez.
Can we get a tape? Can we get a tape on that?
Yes, there it is.
Let's get a tape on it.
If I'm telling you what, if Himalayan snowcock decided to come down to the lowlands, it's even an ugly bird. It's not even a good looking
They're
bird.
kind of ugly. I will give you
They're
that.
kind of ugly. No, it was a mistake.
But they don't
look
bother
on
anybody.
It was a mistake. They should have stayed over the Himalayan mountains.
Rod's got a really hot take on this.
Yeah, he does.
He's wound out. He's wound
We're
up.
gonna
about
make
it.
one of those
What?
pissing shirts.
Some-
There
was a snowcock that did something to Ron years ago.
Something happened. He is
I hope there's
Approximately
video of it.
appropriately something.
Might have been because of a train ride I had through the Himalayan mountains. I don't know. The whole thing, it went south. I don't like it. I don't like them birds. I ain't eating them. I ain't hunting them.
What about bobwhite quail? Where have you gotten after those? Kansas?
Kevin, hunting. Kevin, I have to answer your question, hunting.
Oh,
But
really?
the season isn't long enough. That's the truth. Unless you live in Alaska, because they start in August and they can hunt them all the way through April.
Yeah,
Right.
Jim's got to get
Another reason to move up there. So, bobwhite quail, I've just fallen in love with a lot of those western birds, different quail species. I do have the which is the California quail, or the one in is the species up in the what's the species up in the mountains in
Mountain
California?
Quail in California.
Yeah.
Mountain
it's
quail,
actually Mountain
yep.
Quail, yep.
Yep. Okay. Because I've shot. They call them California quail. They have different names in Idaho. So I have taken those, and they're just beautiful birds. But the bobwhites that I've hunted in different states, what a special bird. I mean, for people that love their own species, I get why everybody loves all of them. They're all unique, and they all possess interesting challenges that I fully enjoy. I don't know. I don't know if, I mean, Tyler and I, we've talked about this before. The Hungarian partridge is like the perfect mix of everything. And then you look at where they live. You know, I've shot them in Wyoming and North Dakota.
That was a really cool hunt you did with George Lyle over in Wyoming. I didn't know that they actually had hunts in Wyoming like that. You guys seen quite a few over there.
We did. And that's the thing about Wyoming is they've got like close to 11 different species of birds
They're
to
like
chase
an
over there,
up-and-running
something like that. I mean,
hotspot,
just like the blues, and you get up in the mountains.
Right.
They really are. If people ask me, like, where would you go? And I tell them, like, well, if you want variety, you can get in the truck and hunt a variety of different birds if you go to Wyoming. You know, so, and then Idaho, if anybody wants to, like, make destination hunt happen someday in your life, you have to go hunt in Idaho.
Yeah.
Just do it one time. There's something about that state, the color of the grass. It's like it's not golden, it's white. And then you mix that with the hills, and then the rivers like the Snake River, and then Hell's Canyon. Ron, I know you wouldn't climb the top of the mountain, but every once in a while they fly to the bottom when you flush them. Because trucker, run to the top and fly to the bottom.
Yeah.
I can flank the bottom canyon while you walk up to the top.
You would have crushed them in Nevada last year because we spent a whole day on the mountaintops only to find out that they were on the very bottom when we got down. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know that you and I talked when we were on the phone for like an hour last week. You guys don't really have anything planned yet for this year, right? For this coming season, like as far as hunts.
So yeah, I mean, maybe this is a good opportunity to say, like, what should we do?
Yeah.
What do you think would be
Let's
enjoyable
ask
to
the
watch?
viewers.
What?
Let's ask the viewers.
If you guys want, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long you want to talk, but really just say, like, let's talk this through with some ideas. I have a running list because I get regular emails that come through, and I keep track of all of them. You know, wherever they send them. Some people send it in Facebook, some on now Instagram, and but through our website. And then I always just ask more questions, and then I keep that in file. So with COVID this year, the travel restrictions are going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And so we haven't secured anything really as far as like firm details. We have stuff penciled in, but really, I'm really open yet as far as what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be going. I had plans to I had plans to hunt all the corners, right? I mean, we wanted to cover north, south, east, west, and it's really going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple weeks. And we're just like, if we get too far into our plans and then a state shuts down anybody coming in or out, then we have to change it anyway. So we'll ramp everything up here.
I wanted to break a little news. Nick texted me earlier today asking, because he said that he saw someplace in a Facebook feed that North Dakota was not going to sell any non-resident licenses. I called the Game and Fish today. That is not true. Yeah. They have had zero discussions of that. And apparently the director of the Game and Fish has had discussions with the governor, and the governor has been getting pushed very hard to not do that.
Not cancel.
Yeah, because that is 20, 30, $100 million worth of revenue for the state that would just be gone. And specifically with the oil field not kicking as it once was, and where everything else is at, that's money that is definitely going to be needed. So North Dakota will be on the table. So
that's good. Yeah,
but it's a big question though. I mean, like I'm wondering about Arizona in January. They're getting smoked with this thing down there right now, and who knows if they're gonna sell any. They absolutely could. Yeah.
And they've been trying to close the southern border for years. They might close the north, east, and south. East and west border. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be a weird season, and I like Ron alluded. I mean, all you guys know that I have a million people come and go at my place throughout the year, and I've even been trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to deal with it. Like I got to talk to some people from the health unit and see. I know that from what I've understood, the one common denominator in symptoms is a fever. So anybody who's going to come out here and hunt with me, I'm going to have them
temperature.
Check their temperature if you're showing any kind of a fever at all.
Yeah. Are you going to go rectal or armpit or
definitely rectal? It's from everybody tells me it's the most accurate.
Guaranteed.
So. I think that's important. I think that's important when you show up to Sharptail Ridge.
The real thing though is that when Ron comes up here,
right at the gate, there's going to be somebody.
You guys are going to have to know that Ron was up here in August, and I'm not washing that thermometer. So you guys were getting cross contamination.
I'm bringing my own.
But it's and I'm also going to have waivers. If somebody does get it here, I'm not going to be responsible for that at all. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people coming and going.
What do you mean wafers? You're going to give communion?
Waivers.
Oh, my bad.
Flashback to catechism.
But
I'm reading through some of the comments here, Ron. It sounds like some people would really like to see you go on a Himalayan snowcock hunt.
Yeah, maybe they would. And
would you go if the flush made it happen, Ron?
No. The flush is going to make some other good hunts happen. Travis and I have been talking. We're going. All right, I'm just going to spill the beans. We're flying to Alaska. We're going to stuff taffy in a little underarm carry-on bag.
Uh-oh.
It's only 22 pounds. And then we're gonna go wipe out those ptarmigan with taffy.
I'll be back. I got a puppy to deal with here.
I can't confirm that for anybody that's listening. I cannot confirm that.
You cannot deny it either. You can't deny it either.
Yeah, Jace, that's something we try to do as often as we can, is to explain where we are, and it's a mix of trying to be as informative as possible for all the different bird species. We try to give a little backstory on those birds too, wherever we might be hunting. So we try to mix that in for the most part. And then there was to feature the habitat work and camaraderie of PF and Quail. We do that pretty regularly. We try to. We do a lot of shows with some of the Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever biologists, and they kind of explain sometimes we may miss the mark on the real efforts that they've done, but we try to showcase their efforts and explain that as best we can. We've got an episode coming up here in a couple weeks that we're really excited to share with you. It's in Iowa, a state that has really gotten a bad reputation for pheasants over the last couple decades, and that's because their habitat disappeared with the commodity prices. And so that episode shows a program that they've put in place in the last few years. It's probably some of the best grassland I have ever walked in my entire life. I'm not a very tall man. I'm not nearly the stature that Sir Tyler is there, but that grass was way over my head, so thick, public land, birds everywhere because the habitat was really, really great. And we hunted with locals that took some marginal land and they turned it into grass. And 5 years ago, a bird didn't exist on the property, and we saw them flush by the hundreds. Wow. And that's the Iowa episode coming up. So I hope you guys enjoy that one. And that's really focused on the efforts of hunters and habitat work. And we talk about that pretty extensively in our North Dakota episode, which is going to be in, I think, 3 weeks, I believe. If you follow any of the Flush social media channels, we always give an announcement about the episode coming up so people know. And then it airs 4 times every week on the Outdoor Channel, so that depending on when you are able to watch it, if you don't DVR it. And then on top of that, I think the number one question we get is, when is it going to be on YouTube? When are you going to stream it? And I have a candid answer that I have to say every time. It's a television network decision. They don't exist if people don't have their channel. And so they have to put it into the contract that we can't also stream it, because if we were streaming it at the same time, then people would say, I don't need the cable, I can stream it. Yeah. So we renegotiated our contract. Originally, they wouldn't let us post a full episode or even a full segment online for up to 2 years. Sorry, there's a wind gust. I hope it's not picking up on my mic. But it was a 2-year wait. We renegotiated and said, no, after our season is done, we're going to start streaming them. So they're on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, going up the first week of January. And then we also have them on Amazon as well. So that's
you guys do have them on Amazon.
That's cool.
Is Amazon? That's 1 year after though, right? So you're not streaming. So like I can't go watch the Beaver Island one right now on Amazon.
Correct. Yep. Exactly. So they're a little bit different. Like YouTube, as everybody knows, you hit upload and I walk away from my computer and boom, it's up. Yeah. Amazon's a little bit different. We have to put together a season package. And so then they publish it on their timeline, so it's a little bit different, but we still have contractual obligations that we have to keep from putting that up there. So that's
you get the Outdoor Channel on an app by itself. So if you don't have to do they have their own app?
No, they don't. They have My Outdoor TV.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, they have My Outdoor TV, which is another streaming service, which is similar to purchasing an app on your phone.
But those episodes are delayed too. It's not.
Those are exactly the same thing. And we've actually pushed back on that, saying, okay, well, why would we then go on that carrier when we can stream it here and we can stream it there?
Right.
It's a big investment to pay for the airtime. A lot of people get into television and then they realize that just that the cost of the airtime is pretty significant. So they're kind of weighing what they want to do there, and I think that's a lot of the networks are all fighting against at the same time.
Right.
Well boys,
do we have anything else?
I'd say one last call for questions, but I think we're gonna tie this up in a neat little bow now.
Sounds good.
So Travis, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been an absolute blast. We've had probably one of the biggest viewerships of our live show since we've moved to Tuesday. So people were definitely excited to see you as well. What I'd like to do is we're going to give you guys all a task at the when we hit the end broadcast button. I want you all to go to the comments and leave where Travis and the Flush should go. Give them some show ideas. So if you've got a hunting opportunity, or if there's some cool places that you'd like to see the Flush go, I think the comments after we hit, so don't do it now, but wait till after we end the show. Post them up in the comments, and I'll take some screenshots and send them to Travis.
And remember too, guys, when you guys leave those comments there, when we had Pete Fisher from Dogtra on, he's going to give us one of the TMB duels to give away. And like we're gonna pick that from whoever gets that is going to be somebody that did something like subscribe, comment, share the stream like that on YouTube, on Facebook, whatever. So do that when we get done with the show, please.
Very cool. Well, thank you all for joining in, and we will catch you all next week. No more weeks off, right?
Stay with us.
Hey,
Travis.
thanks for having me, guys. You guys, I love what you're doing, and enjoy being a part of it tonight. Really, really spectacular. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah, man.
Travis.
Cheers all.
Cheers.
Oh, you got a 312 going, Doug.
Nice.
Doug, put it back on.